thank everybody for being here today in Mishkan Raq Qol's Zoom room. Whether you're here physically in the house or you're in the virtual shul, we're very, very happy to have you with us today. We love you, appreciate you. We thank you for being here. We thank you for being obedient to Yahweh's word and being here with us on his day. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. There's good stuff here for anybody who will receive it, okay? But our Parsha today, again, it's called Va-Yelekh, right? And it means, and he went or he walked, okay? And it's one chapter. It's Deuteronomy chapter 31, verses 1 through 30. It's a short thing, but you know what? Like I said, sometimes, well, you got to remember the word says that little is much when Yahweh is in it. And he can take 2 or 3 scriptures and really open up a lot of things. So we got to remember, let's never sell the Ruach short on what it can do, right? Let's not sell the Father short on what he can provide for his children. Amen? Now, we know for a fact that we can never outgive Yahweh. It'll never happen. He gave us the very best. He gave us his son. So, but anyway, like I said, it's just this one chapter. But Chris, if you would, please read verses 1 through 12. Or read at least 12 verses of the Torah Parsha so that no tribe gets left behind.
Deuteronomy 31:1. And Moses went and spake these words unto all Israel. And he said unto them, I am 120 years old this day. I can no more go out and come in. Also Yahweh hath said unto me, Thou shalt not go over this Jordan. Yahweh the Elohim, he will go over before thee, and he will destroy these nations from before thee. And thou shalt possess them, and Joshua he shall go over before thee, as Yahweh hath said. And Yahweh shall do unto them as he did unto Sihon and to Og, kings of the Amorites, and unto the land of them whom he destroyed. And Yahweh shall give them up before your face, that you may do unto them according unto all the commandments which I have commanded you. Be strong and of a good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For Yahweh the Elohim, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. And Moses called unto Joshua, and said unto him in the sight of all Israel, Be strong and of a good courage. For thou must go with this people unto the land which Yahweh has sworn unto their fathers to give them. And thou shalt cause them to inherit it. And Yahweh, he it is that doth go before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. And Moses wrote this law, and delivered it unto the priests of the sons of Levi, which bear the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and unto all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them, saying, At the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of the release, in the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel is come to appear before Yahweh the Elohim in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Gather the people together, men and women, and children, and thy stranger that is within thy gates, that they may hear, and that they may learn, and fear Yahweh your Elohim, and observe to do all the words of this law. And that their children which have not known anything may hear and learn to fear Yahweh your Elohim, as long as ye live in the land whither you go over Jordan to possess it.
Abba Yahweh, we love you and appreciate you, Father. We thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful Shabbat day. Father, we thank you for the fantastic lesson that we had last night. Father, we look forward to learning more about you and what you have for us, learning more about how to grow into the full stature of your Son, Yahushua Moshiach. And we look to your Parsha today for guidance, for direction. We ask that you continue to lead us and guide us and direct us in all things of you and your Son. Father, I ask that you use this word today to unlock our hearts and unlock our minds. Father, that the scales would fall off our eyes, that we would be able to see the things that we're dealing with right now in a clear light. Father, that we would be able to see them and understand why we are in these situations. Abba, I just ask that you allow us to take this word into ourselves, Father, that it would take root in our hearts, that it would bear root downward so that it could bear fruit upward, so that we would have things to give, not only to those who our friends and our family and our loved ones, but those that we don't know. Should a person come to us, that your Ruach would give us the words to say and the things that would help them in the situations that they're dealing with. Abba, I ask that you touch my mouth, Father, that you would touch my mind, that I would be able to bring this word in a way that your people can understand it. Not anything esoteric or hard to understand, but Father, in a way that they can grasp it, so that they can easily digest it, that they would get the nourishment from the strong meat, but find it as easy to digest as the milk and honey that the land was full of, that you promised your people. Abba, I just love you today, and I thank you so much for each and every person under the sound of my voice. Father, I thank you for the people who are going to hear these messages on YouTube, the people that are just finding us out there, that are searching. Father, I thank you for each and every one of those folks. And Abba, I just ask that you continue to guide us and lead us and direct us every day. Allow your Ruach to please take up residence in this house, that we would be able to feel your presence, and that we would be able to gain control over ourselves, so that we would be able to enjoy this word and understand it, digest it fully. And Father, we give you all the praise and all the glory in the name of your precious, precious Son, Yahushua. Amen. All right. So, like I said before, we're all walking, right? We're walking this thing out. Now, there's a lot of folks. Now, Sister Nicola, you said that you spoke to the gentleman at the laundromat, right? And it is funny that you have this laundromat ministry, whatever it happens to be, but that this gentleman asked you, well, what religion are you? And you answered him correctly. This is not a religion. This is a way of life. We live this. And that's what it's supposed to be. Religion is a science. Okay? It's a science of belief. But we live this. Right? It's not a costume that we put on. It's not a costume that we put on it's who we are. It is our identity. Okay? We are Israelites. That is who we are, not what we are. Does that make sense? A lot of people, you ask a person, what are you? Oh, I'm a Baptist, I'm a Presbyterian, I'm a Methodist. Okay? We are who we are. But it's not, like I said, it's not just a placard that we have hung around our neck, right? It's not just a sign over the door, all right? We are Israelites. We are Hebrews, and it's in the name itself. Why? Because we crossed over. The word ever means to cross over, right? Because we crossed over out of darkness into light. You see, that's what the word Hebrew means, Sister Shelby. Comes from the root word ever, which means to cross over. They asked Abraham. We all know Father Abraham, don't we? We all know him and respect him and love him. And the thing is, when they asked him what he was, where did he come from? What did he tell them? He said, oh, I'm Abrahamite. I'm this tribe. I'm that. No. What he said was, I'm a Hebrew. I crossed over the river, and this is where I came to. So that's where the term Hebrew comes from, because we crossed over. The word talks about people crossing over out of darkness into what? His marvelous light. Now, why does it call it marvelous? Because we can't comprehend it. We can't understand it. What does it say in the book of John? It says that the darkness saw the light, and it what? Comprehended it not. It didn't comprehend it. Okay? And here's another thing about it. When people look at us, I don't think that they comprehend who we are. They don't understand it. Now, that's a modern interpretation of the word comprehend. But when we go back to the 1600s version of that word comprehend, what does that mean? It means to overcome. Right? So it's telling us that the darkness cannot overcome the light. What is darkness? It's the absence of light. Darkness is not its own thing. It relies on one aspect to be missing. That's why we talk about being balanced. That's why we talk about being balanced. In order to be balanced, you got to have both sides, right? If you have too much on one side or too much on the other, what's going to happen? You're going to get off balance. You're going to topple off. You're going to fall off your spot, right? So this is the thing. We've got to be balanced. We've got to take this thing, right? You remember it talks about the parable of the sower? And it said that there was one that received the word with joy, right? And he ran to go share it. But then things begin to happen. Amen? Certain things, the cares of this world and the falseness of riches and all of these things begin to happen. Right? And he ran fast. But then he began to kind of slow down. And then before too long, he was basically back to where he started from before receiving the word. So the word, the word tells us that we are to run this race how? How are we supposed to run this race? With patience. Okay? With patience. All right? There are so many things that we want to do and so many people that we want to save. But, Brother Michael, to your credit, like you told that gentleman the other day, the word says to be ready to stand and give an account when any man ask of you. Right? We were told, coming up in the church, we were told that we had to preach to every lamppost and every mailbox and every bush, and you know what I mean? That's what we had to do. But we found out that that's not actually the case. Because when you preach to a person who's not ready to accept it, what are you doing? You're wasting your time and you're wasting their time. Right? Casting pearls before swine, exactly. You see? So that's what I'm saying. We walk this thing. We deal with what happens. There are those that will listen, and there are those that will not. And just as the Messiah said, sometimes you got to know when to shake the dust off your shoes and move on, right? There's no sense in beating a dead horse. But like I said, we all have a walk that we are on every day. And you say way more. You say way more. I'm take this page out of Dad's playbook. You say way more by what you do, how you live your life, than you do by getting up on a soapbox. Right? What did James say? The book of James, he says, you show me your faith without works, and I'll show you my faith how? By my works, by the things that I do, by my actions. Do I tell you that you are supposed to do something, but then I go and do the opposite? Or I do what I want to? What do we call that? We talked about it last night. That is hypocrisy. That is being a hypocrite. Brother Michael, I tell you, oh, you need to be here on Shabbat. But then I get a friend of mine gives me a ticket to go to the baseball game on Shabbat, and I'm not here, I'm there. What kind of speech, what kind of words are or my walk putting out there? Sir? It's an uncertain sound, exactly. You know, that's what the word says. If the watchman gives an uncertain sound, or if the trumpet gives an uncertain sound, people aren't going to know what's going on. It's confusion. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, even when you've got invitations to baby showers and weddings and things like that, you know, I had a brother that got married on Shabbat, and I told him, I said, if you have your wedding on Saturday, I'm not going to be there. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, he won't speak to me.
Well, the thing is, though, what did the Messiah say? Everybody that loses mother or father or sister or brother or lands or houses in this life will gain 100-fold here and life everlasting in the life to come, right? There's something after this thing. These are temporal things, right? But Chris, read verse number 2.
Deuteronomy 31:2 says, And he said unto them, I am 120 years old this day. I can no more go out and come in. Also Yahweh hath said unto me, Thou shalt not go over this Jordan.
All right. So here Moshe is telling them, I'm 120 years old. I can't go out. I can't come in. I can't do what he's telling them. I can't do the things I used to do. And I don't have a whole lot of time left. Now, for the past few parshas, he's been letting them know, it's coming. It's coming. My time is coming. Right? And he's letting them know, I'm at the end of my time. And I'm going off the scene. I'm not going to be here for you after this. All right? And this is what I want us to understand. We all have this appointment. Amen? In the garden, Adam was, who knows how long his life would have lasted. All right, who knows? If they had stayed obedient, right, and not eaten from the tree that they weren't supposed to have eaten from, who knows how long Adam would, who knows? But we know that it was at one point, and now it's getting down to 120 years. And let's go to Psalm 90 and 10. Okay? So from the time of Moshe to the time of David, what changed?
All right, Psalms 90 and 10 says, The days of our years are 80 years and 10, and if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away.
Okay, so the psalmist is telling us that it went from, let's say, 1,000 years, right, for Adam. Just throw that out there. Let's say 1,000 years. Then it went down to about 120. And now the psalmist is saying, now it's 70 years, and maybe 80 by way of strength. Perhaps you'll be able to live until you're 80. What caused that? It was the after effects of sin. Okay? Sin is what caused it to lessen. And you see, from Adam's time to Moses' time to David's time, it continues. And it just keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. That's because of the lingering after effects and the continuous adding on of sin in the world. Okay? That's what caused that. But what I want us to understand is that each and every one of us has this appointment to make. Unless Yahushua comes back. See what I'm saying? We're going to go one of two ways. That's just all there is to it. And the point is that in this limited amount of time, remember Job, I believe it was in Job where it says that that the days of man are few. He's like the grass of the field, right? And that, well, we saw where the psalmist said that the days that we do have are full of sorrow. Because unfortunately, we have things that we have to deal with. And they're not always pleasant. Okay? And yes, we live with the consequences or the after effects of the sins of our fathers. They have been visited upon the children. You remember that? Scriptures say that the sins of the fathers are visited upon the children. And it's like a snowball. It's like a boulder rolling downhill. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse, right? But just like Shlomo said, there's nothing new under the sun. We're still doing the same things today that we were doing back then, but it's just a little more widespread. All right? But I want us to understand that we are all going to go off the scene one day. So we need to do the best that we can with what we're given to work with. Do the best that we can with the time that we have. Right? The word talks about that a good name is to be prized above silver and gold. All right? Don't allow your actions to bring a reproof either on yourself or the one you serve. We know what's right to do. Amen? We know what's right to do. We have the commandments. It's not like we don't know. It's all right here. All right? We know what is good and what is not good. So let's do the things that are good. Let's do the things that show us as being obedient. All right? And I mean, after all, that's how we make it in, is through our obedience, through our actions. Okay? There's a big difference between knowing something up here and putting it into action here. Does that make sense? Y'all understand what I'm saying? The big difference in knowing what's right and actually doing what's right. That's why we have to guard our heart with all diligence. Because out of it, right, come the issues of life. The things that we do. Our actions are going to do more. Okay? Our actions are going to do more to put us in our final space, our final destination. All right? Our actions are going to do more about putting us in our final destination than our words or our thoughts or any of that kind of stuff. But we got to remember that these words and these thoughts and these imaginations, the word talks about vain imaginations, these things are what give rise to the things that we do. We can have errant thoughts pass through our minds, but that doesn't mean that we have to act on them. Right? Just because it's just like I told, they were having a big discussion at work one time about when they were talking about bringing the lottery to Mississippi. We never had it before, And somebody at work, they were talking, we were all in the break room just kind of chit-chatting, and somebody said, well, I mean, I don't think that they should have it, and because it ain't good, and he's right. We should be good stewards of what Yahweh has given us, right? But just because something is legal does not mean that you have to participate in it. What did Shaul say? All things are lawful, but not everything is expedient. Now, when we think of expedient, we think quick, right? But again, that's where we have to go back and look at the original language, right? So all things are lawful, they're allowed, but not everything's good for you. Not everything's good for us. Let me put it that way. And just because it's legal doesn't mean that I have to participate in it. Amen? Chris, read verses 3 and 4, please.
Deuteronomy 31, 3 and 4 says, Yahweh the Elohim, he will go over before thee, and he will destroy these nations from before thee, and thou shalt possess them. And Joshua he shall go over before thee, as Yahweh hath said. And Yahweh shall do unto them as he did to Sihon and to Og, the kings of the Amorites, and unto the land of them whom he destroyed.
All right, so he's telling them that if you'll just do what I tell you to do, I'm going to go before you. All right? I'm going to go before you. I'll take care of your enemies. I'll take care of anybody that comes against. That's why Israel has always been seen as such a threat. At the mention of Israel, just the sight of them, just the mention of their name, these other kings would just get all up in arms. Right? Didn't even do anything to them. And yet they would come out armed against Israel out of fear. All right? And there's a reason. And the reason for that is because we are the only people that their Elohim goes before them. The rest of them are what? Wood, stone, silver, gold, the work of men's hands. All right? The name Yahweh, the existing one. All right? You also heard it in the Bible, you've heard it as the living Elohim. He exists through no intervention on our part. We exist because of his intervention. It's not the other way around. Okay? And the important thing is to know that when Yahweh went before Israel, when they were upright, who could stand against them? Nobody. Nobody could stand against Israel when Yahweh went before them. Okay? So here's the thing. Are you Israel now? Are we Israel? Yes, we are. Because why? Because we, have, have chosen the Messiah of Israel, for one thing, right? But we have the word of Yahweh, which was written by their Elohim, by Israel's Elohim. Do you see what I'm saying? Holidays, the way we eat, our method of dress, the day that we worship on, all of these things go to make us who we are. But sometimes we are faced with situations and circumstances that we may not react the best way to. Amen? We get upset, which we do. I get upset. Dad gets upset. We get upset. That's a natural thing. We're human, right? We get upset. But it's what we do after we get upset that tells us where we're at. Okay? Do I get aggravated with my wife? Yes, I do. Does she get aggravated with me? Yes, she does. But when we have a situation like that, we talk it out. We don't scream, we don't yell, we don't throw things, we talk. And we eventually come to an agreement, don't we? Okay? That is growth. That is maturity. All right? And Yahweh does go before us if we allow him to. That's the important part. Because Yahweh is all powerful. But in our own lives, we can shorten his arms. We can put him in a box, Brother Michael, and not allow him to do what he wants to do for us because of our control. Okay? Sometimes we want to let our flesh do the talking. Remember I told you about that guy that said he could lay down his salvation for 10 minutes and go whoop this old boy and then go pick it right back up and just... No, you can't. If you feel that way, then that strife and that conflict is what's in your heart. It's not living peaceably with all men, which is what we're told to do, right? As much as it lieth within you, live peaceably with all men. Okay? That does not mean that we cannot finish a fight. We're just not the ones who start it. Okay? But sometimes we want to let our flesh do the talking. But that is not what we are to do. Okay? We are to act accordingly and let him handle our enemies. Let's take a look at Numbers. Let's go to Numbers 14 and 40. Let's take a look at a situation there that happened where a bad decision was made.
Numbers 14 and 40 says, And they rose up early in the morning, and got them up into the top of the mountain, saying, Lo, we be here, and we will go up unto the place which Yahweh hath promised, for we have sinned.
Okay, read 41 too.
And Moses said, Wherefore now do you transgress the commandment of Yahweh? But it shall not prosper.
Okay? So they got up. Remember, this is after the spies went out. And they came back and they gave their evil report. All right? They gave a false report because of what their flesh told them, what their fear told them, what their concern and their worry told them. They were dealing with the tangible things. But the word tells us that Yahweh is a spirit. I can't touch a spirit. Therefore, he is not tangible. Amen? Tangible. I can't touch him, right? I can't pick him up. I can't do that. So I have to learn to trust him and not just trust in the things that I can see. It's like they had the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire, right? That went before them all the time. And they saw those things. Okay? But they still didn't trust him. Okay? What was the evidence there for them to trust him? What was done in Egypt? What happened to Sihon and Og? The things that happened to the Ammonites, right? The things that happened to the Moabites, the Amalekites, all of the things that they saw that were against them. Yahweh rescued them or saved them from that. And they could actually see him acting. So how much stronger does our faith need to be? Because we don't see him in a tangible form or something visible. That is what faith is. It is an action. I must choose to trust him. Okay? I know I harp on this a lot, but I want us to get it in our heads. All right? Faith is not faith without an action. Okay? In order to have faith, I must trust him. I must put my faith in him. Right? I have to believe him how or why. What did Yahushua tell him? If you don't believe me for what? The miracle's sake, because of the things you see. But we must transcend the things that we can see. Yes.
Sister Gabriella says many times we think things are against us, but Yahuwah is actually working us towards his reward.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm saying. We see it one way. But here's the thing. We can't see the end of the road. Why did he put us here? Why did he do? I don't know. I know why he put me here. My job is to worship him and to serve him. That's why he put me here. But we've spoken about this time and time again. Would you rather choose the beginning and have no say over where you end up? That's what Israel did here when they were in the desert. They chose the beginning. They couldn't see past the ends of their noses. We want to have control over what's going on right now. Or would you rather choose the end and have no say over how you get there? We know what we are fighting for. We know what we're pushing for. Amen? We know where we want to be. So my job is to continue to walk in his commandments, in his word, to walk in the deeds he would have me to do. And wherever he puts me, that's where he puts me. All I care about is where do I end up. So you see the measure of faith you have to have there? I don't know where he's putting me. I don't know where I'm going. But I trust him enough to know that he has my best interests at heart. I trust him enough to know that he has never left me. He's never forsaken me. He's never turned his back on me. And even in Israel's worst times, right? He still kept an eye on her, didn't he? Remember in Jeremiah, we was talking about go call the ones that you burnt incense to, and the ones you poured out drink offerings to, and those idols, and those, you go talk to them. But he still had to have an eye on them to know what was going on, right? Because he had made a promise. And his promise is that, one of his promises is that he would never leave us nor forsake us. So yes, we may be in a tight situation. Brother Alex, we may be having a rough patch. We may be going through some things. We may be having things come against us that we don't understand. But we cannot afford to lose the faith. Shaul said, I have kept the faith. We must do the same thing. We look back at the scriptures, right? And it tells us that all the things that they went through were given to us for what? Examples. Examples are what? Those are instances of what either to do or not to do. And we grow from that. We grow from that, or we should. Okay? We must learn how to, and like I said, because a lot of times, we see things. We get upset, we get angry, we get, things happen, we get confused, and we may act out a certain way. But we have got to. One of the things that's going to hold us back, the biggest thing that's going to hold us back is this flesh. Amen? We got three things we got to fight against: the world, the flesh, and the devil, right? If we can get the flesh under control, the other two have no hold on us. Okay? The other two things have no hold on us if we can get the flesh under control. All right? And that's what I'm saying. We must learn to control the flesh instead of letting the flesh control us. That's not only with emotions like anger or lust or these things, but it's also in emotions like fear and worry and all of these things. We look back at what is the example? Has he left us? Has he forsaken us? No. And his word says he never will. So here's the question. If he has not done it before, why would he do it now? He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Yes, we get in situations where we become emotional. And that's to be expected. But we learn to control the emotion, not to let the emotion control us. Do we feel sadness? Yes, we do. Do we feel worry and concern? Yes, we do. Do we feel anger? Yes, we do. But there is such a thing as righteous anger. Even Shaul said, be angry, but don't sin. See what I'm saying? We're still people. But we must learn to control ourselves and our outbursts and what we do. How do we react? Let's be proactive instead of reactive. Y'all understand what I'm trying to tell you? If we get that under control ahead of time, then there is less for us to react to. Because when we become reactive, then there's opportunities for us to make mistakes. Say things that hurt people's feelings and, and all these kinds. So we got to think about what we do. All right? Chris, read verses 5 and 6, please.
Deuteronomy 31, 5 and 6 says, And Yahweh shall give them up before your face, that you may do unto them according unto all the commandments which I have commanded you. Be strong and of a good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For Yahweh the Elohim, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee.
So here Moshe says, he's not going to fail you. No matter what it looks like, he's not going to fail you. Let me ask you this. We read that passage in Numbers. If they had all had the same attitude that Caleb and Joshua had, would there have been a problem? There's no doubt in my mind that regardless of how big the walls were, or how big the people were, or how strong they were, whatever, there is no doubt in my mind that they would have come out on top because Yahweh was before them. But it was their perception of the situation that caused them to sin. You see? All right? That is what happens when we let self get in the way. Were the spies thinking of the rest of the nation? I don't think so. I think they were strictly thinking of themselves. Oh, we saw these guys and they're huge, they're giants, and we're like grasshoppers. But the nation as a whole was much larger than the nation that they were going against. But thinking of it as me, myself, and I, right? that not being able to get the self out of the way is what led to the problem. They were strictly thinking about themselves. So, when we overcome self with his help, that's the only way we're going to be able to do it. Okay? With his help to overcome the self and get out of the way, then we can actually see the problem for what it is. If they had taken themselves out of the way and said, there's way more of us than there is of them, and they may have some big guys, but we got the numbers, and we got the biggest one who goes before us. We've seen his hand, right? We saw him move against the army. He wiped out the entire army of Pharaoh. 600 horses and chariots and trained men and men of war. He wiped them out with one fell swoop. That's what I'm saying. The word says that he caused the waters to stand up like heaps, right? So what did he do? He just withdrew that. And nature herself came to answer the problem. This is what I'm telling you. When we see the problem for what it is, it's just a speed bump in the road. It's just a hurdle that I'm going to have to overcome. It's just something that's holding me back. Then it goes from being a mountain to a molehill, to borrow a phrase. Okay? It goes from being this giant thing to becoming something like, I can handle that. That I can deal with. All right? But the thing that lies to us is our perception of the object. We look at it, Sister Nicola, and we say, I'm never going to get past this. We look at it and we say, I've never been in this situation before. I don't know what to do. We look at the thing and we say, it's a land that swallows up its inhabitants. And the cities are walled up to heaven, and we're like grasshoppers in their sight. I know how big, I can go out here and see how big a grasshopper is, right? You see a different, it's your perception that's messed up. Your perception of a grasshopper is what's lying to you. See? Truth in what I'm telling you. But what I'm saying is, think about the size of a grasshopper compared to a human being. There's no way that the Anakim were that big. You see what I'm saying? They were slightly larger than an average man. And therefore, they just ran all the way off the end of the world with it. We're like grasshoppers. They're just going to destroy us. Remember the half shekel? Y'all remember that? That's my point. They'd already paid the half shekel. So what was there to worry about? Well, yeah, they did. Because when they fought that other king, when they came back, there wasn't one of them missing. Yeah.
That's why the fearful are the first on the list of those who will not be
don't get in the city.
Yeah.
All right? This walk is not one for fearful people. Because 9 times out of 10, it seems that everything's against you. But that is just our perception. Yes, sir.
That's exactly what Jacob thought. He said, all these
things are against me.
But they were actually for him.
Exactly. Right? Remember when he said, I've lost Joseph, Simeon is not, and now you want to take Benjamin away from me. And that's when he was talking about all these things are against me. Well, it wasn't. It was actually done so that to save their lives. But the perception was contrary to what the Father was doing. And that's what I'm talking about. We see things one way with these human eyes. And I talk a lot about seeing through the eyes of the Spirit. Right? Because I know that in the natural, my eyes are faulty. I can only see this notebook, this pen, this phone, this paragraph. I can't even read without a pair of glasses. My eyes, these flesh eyes are faulty. But the eyes of the Spirit are 20/20. I look back and I say, did he ever fail them? No, he did not. I've got a situation that I'm dealing with right now. Do I cut and run? Do I try to fix it myself? What do? I tell you what you do. You go back, look at what the word says, you see the example, and then you trust him. Amen? You trust him. So the word says that cursed is he who does what? Trusts in the arm of the flesh. I will mess it up. I have told us this. I will screw it up. Rather rely on Yahweh, who has never made a mistake, who has never left you. He's never forsaken you, right? Even in Israel's worst times, he was still there. Even when they were sinning, and even when they were doing things that they weren't supposed to do, even when they were worshiping idols and all these kinds of things, there were still those that had not bent their knee to Baal. Right? And Yahweh's never lost sight of Israel as a whole. So that's what I'm telling us. Don't let your eyes lie to you. Yes, sir.
That's why it says, lean not to your own
To your own understanding. Exactly. That's the thing. See, this is what I'm trying to tell us. When we rely on our own understanding, we come away with flawed understanding. When we look at the things that he's done and the times that he's failed, which is 0, how can we not trust him? He brought them through so much. And he can bring us through what we're going through, whether it's physical, financial, spiritual, whatever it is. All right? We have to change our perception. Don't see it with these eyes, right? See it with the eyes of the Spirit. Ask him to give you that discernment, to give you that vision. Because it's not going to hurt you, it's only going to help you. My wife would tell you, I get upset. I got mad at a lady at the gas station a few days ago because she gave me an ugly face. And I said, what you doing? What you think you doing? But then I said, no. Father, help me. And I spoke kind to that lady. And I even apologized for something that wasn't even my fault, to try and make it smooth. She kept on giving me an ugly face, and I said, well, if that's how you're going to be, just keep on going. And I pumped my gas, and I went on about my business. But boy, I wanted to tell her a thing or two. But I did not. See what I'm saying? I'm not telling you this to pat you to try and pat myself on the back. I'm trying to tell you that I go through the same things that y'all do. And y'all don't know a whole lot about the Wilsons, but we have some anger problems. Brother Tommy will tell you the same thing. And we will fly off the handle quick. But I know that that's a weakness in me. And seeing myself with the eyes of the Spirit, I can say, this is where I need work. And that's what I work on. I don't worry about this or that or da-da-da-da. I work where the problem is. You see. And that's all I'm saying. Our perception, how we view it, is 99.9% of the time going to govern how we react to it. It's like Dad used to teach us. If you fail or if you don't succeed at something, don't look at that. Don't take it personal. Don't take it personally, right? You've only learned how not to react to that situation or how not to do that thing. So you change up what you do. You change your viewpoint. You change the way that you come at it. And eventually, you will succeed. But do not allow your perception of the situation to make it something that it is not. Remember who you serve. Right? When Israel served him with all of her heart and all of her mind, all of her strength, there was nothing that could stand in her way. Amen? But when those other things crept in, dissatisfaction, doubt, looking at what this one over here's got, being covetous. What did those things do? Did they draw her closer to Yahweh? No, they pulled her away. So that's what I'm trying to tell us. We've got to change our perception. The Father said, this is what I expect. Yet we try to go all different ways around it to try and get what we think we want. And then when we get it, it's not what we wanted at all. You ever thought, man, I saw something on TV one time. It wasn't TV, I'm sorry. I was at the Dollar General. I spent a lot of time at the Dollar General. Because I passed 3 of them on my way to work. And there's one right around the corner from my job. So if I ever need anything, there's a Dollar General somewhere near. And I went in there, and Chris will remember this because I brought them home to him. Sometimes I don't trust my taste buds because I got a deviated septum, so sometimes I don't taste things right. I found some, and I love Cheetos. One of my guilty pleasures. I love Cheetos. Well, they made a cheese pizza Cheeto, and I love pizza. And I said, man, what's not to like with these things right here? I ate about 3 of them, and I was like, nah, this ain't it. This ain't getting it. They did not taste good at all to me. And I had such high hopes for them. When I saw them on the back, oh, cheese pizza, yeah, I'm all about that. But when I got to them, they weren't good. So I took them to Chris, and I said, Chris, try these and see what you think. He ate about 2 of them, and he said, those are gross. And I was like, okay, it wasn't just me. But my hope, my flesh was saying these are going to taste so good. But they didn't. You see, my perception lied to me. And I had to bring him home and subject Chris to that as well because I needed a second witness. But when he ate 2 of them, he was like, nah, these ain't getting it. These are terrible. And we threw them in the trash, and I was like, that's all that we need. But I got my second witness. Yeah, it was not good. They weren't good. But I said all that to say this. Learn to see things for what they are. Don't look at the situation. Look at what lesson am I supposed to learn from this? This is why we talk about being teachable. What is the lesson I am to learn? Because I guarantee you that lesson will make you better. What was the lesson that I learned from those? Don't always believe what you think. And it sounds silly. It really does. And I know I try to keep things a little lighthearted because, we tend to, sometimes the parshas are real heavy. Sometimes we need a little levity to kind of break it up. Sir? Yeah, exactly. Brother Michael said, life is hard enough as it is. Okay? So sometimes we need to break it up a little bit. The word says that laughter does good like a medicine, right? So I bring you these little silly stories. But the thing is, they're not made up. These are things from my everyday life. I'm very driven by my taste buds. I am. Ma'am? But that's what I'm saying. I am very food centric when it comes to, and I like what I like. And I thought, oh, these Cheetos are going to be the bomb. They're going to be the best. They were not. So I learned from that. It ain't always what it's cracked up to be. Sometimes it's more than the sum of its parts. You see what I'm saying? And that goes with every situation. What can I learn from this? Again, it's all about making us better. Not bitter, but better. Yes, sir.
I'd like to give an example of myself. I'm a guitar player. Well, at least I think I am.
What? I ain't never seen you play no guitar. I'm fibbing.
But I started playing in 1975, and about 2 years ago, I was over to Robert's house, and he says, I want you to get on that guitar and start picking the guitar, not playing the guitar. There's two different things. You can strum it or you can pick. And I was totally embarrassed. I mean, it just floored me. Mm-hmm. But what was my perception? I said, I'll never be caught in that predicament again. From that day forward, I got myself out of the hole. Mm-hmm. So you can get in a hole and go deeper, or you can get yourself out of the hole. Exactly. I said, I'll never be there again. And from that day forward to this day, every time I pick up my guitar, I pick it with my fingers, not just play it like this. See? But I was totally embarrassed, but I didn't let it drive me in a hole. It caused
you use that situation to learn a lesson.
Yeah, to make me, and it makes
you better.
And that's why we got to look at life.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Don't look at it as all these things are against me. Look at it as, Yahweh, thank you for showing me where my weakness is so I can become better. Instead of getting bitter, I can become better. Amen? Like I said, we've been talking a lot about our perceptions of things, right? And that's the thing. We got to remember, just to recap, that our perceptions will lie to us and make us see things in a way that they're not really there. We just, and it's a thing that happens. But there are times, like I said, when things are not good. And then that's where verses 7 and 8 come into play. So, Chris, if you would please go ahead and read those.
All right, Deuteronomy 31, 7 and 8 says, And Moses called unto Joshua and said unto him in the sight of all Israel, Be strong and of a good courage, for thou must go with this people unto the land which Yahweh hath sworn unto their fathers to give them, and thou shalt cause them to inherit it. And Yahweh, he it is that doth go before thee. He will be with thee, he will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed.
All right, so here's the thing. He says, this new deal is about to happen. Moses is stepping off the scene. So Yahweh tells him, I want you to take Joshua and I want you to encourage him. Okay? So we know that Joshua has been, that he was being kind of groomed for this position to take over for Moses after Moses passes. Now, there was only ever one like Moses, right? So the thing is, even David, even the king, he needed encouragement, right? There's not a one of us that doesn't need encouragement from now on, now and again. We all need it. We all need to know that there's somebody in our corner, somebody cares, somebody's looking out for us. Because sometimes we do feel like we're alone. Let's be honest, okay? Sometimes we feel that way. But the word talks to us about a friend that sticks closer than a brother. A lot of times it's our family that are the ones who are our biggest enemies. They're our biggest problem. Our family can be that way, right? And we all know that from experience, all right? So sometimes you need something different, all right? And we need encouragement. And the reason for that is, like I said, because this is a difficult path sometimes to walk. All right? Sometimes we get confused, we get upset, we get hurt. These things happen. But the answer to the question is not going back to the place that we came from. How many times did they say, hey, make us a captain so we can go back to Egypt? Well, one time was too many. You know what I'm saying? But they said it more than that. The thing is, the Father does not want us going back to the places that we were in. All right? If you came out of substance abuse, he doesn't want you going back into substance abuse. If you came out of witchcraft, he doesn't want you going back into witchcraft. If you came out of any number of things that are not of him, he does not want you to go back to those things, okay? There's no challenge to going back to where you came from. It's like Dad has always said, try Yahweh. If you don't like him, the devil will always take you back. Okay? But the challenge is in becoming more than what you were. And growing into, as we talk about a lot, the full stature of Moshiach. Okay? We have an example. We have one that we are to live up to. All right? And yes, when we step into new places, we step into new roles, new areas of growth, all right? There can be instances of great pain because it's not familiar to us. It's what we call uncharted territory, right? It's new. But we should never back down from a challenge, okay? Because it's in that challenge that you find out who you really are. Job said that if, try me in the fire and I'll come out how? Like gold, right? We've got to go through these things. When the Moshiach was in the garden, he didn't ask that the disciples be taken out of the world. To the contrary, he said, I pray that you lead them through it. Why? So that they would come out better on the other side than how they came into it. All right? And when we step into these new places, these new roles, these new growth steps, okay, greater power comes with those things. All right? So a closer walk with him, more assuredness, more authority. They come with that position. However, there is also a greater responsibility for us in those things, right? The word says that to whom much is given, much is required, okay? And we're also told that not be many masters, because with that, we will receive the greater condemnation, okay? So the thing is, we have to understand that there's a greater responsibility. There's a greater price to pay for our actions. There's a greater consequence if we fail in that thing. All right? And I'll be the first one to tell you, when Yahweh makes the call for these changes to be made in our lives, it's not easy. It's not always easy, right? It's definitely not comfortable. We got to step outside of our comfort zone. Isn't that right, Brother Michael? We've got to step out our comfort zone and accept that new growth that the Father wants for us, because he wants us to become better than what we were. And that's what we should want for ourselves. All right? So even though they're not easy, even though they're not comfortable, our duty is to do what? To rise to those challenges. That takes you out of your comfort zone, right? And it's just like the guy, we've laughed and joked about it before. You got a guy and he goes into the gym, right? And he lifts 5 pounds kettlebell or whatever, but it's 5 pounds, right? And he continues to lift that same 5 pounds for the next 2 years. Does he get any stronger because of lifting 5 pounds? No. He's a little stronger than he was but he hasn't grown any. So, he lifts the 5 pounds until it becomes like nothing. So then he comes out of his comfort zone and he says, hey, now I'm going to do 10. And the 10 is a little more difficult, but pretty soon that becomes very easy to do. So then he says, hey, if I can do 10, I can do 20, right? So on and so forth. And that's how it works. All right? There is sore muscles and, you get these pains, right? But later on, he's able to lift 100 pounds or 115 pounds. And it's almost like it's nothing for him. It's kind of how we are now. You know what I mean? We're all dealing with different weights. All right? Sister Kim's weight is not the same as Sister Nicola's weight. Sister Nicola's weight is not the same as Rebbitzon's weight. Mom, your weight is not the same as Alex's weight. Everybody's lifting different weights. Okay? But the thing that we have to remember is that the pain and the stress that we're feeling from that thing, it's only going to last for a while. Because before too long, you'll be able to handle that weight. And it won't be such a big deal. Won't be such a big thing. Okay? But we've got to rise to that occasion. You're never going to get to your goal of lifting 150 pounds if you don't stick with it. That's a very simple concept, isn't it? You got to keep lifting more and more weights in order to be able to lift more. That's how the muscles become stronger, is by exercise. And the scriptures tell us that weeping endures for a night, but joy is going to come in the morning, right? So we deal with the situation when it's happening, knowing that the more we deal with it, right, the more we learn from it, the better equipped we are to handle that situation. And this also works for other people, Because if you go through it, Brother Michael, then if somebody comes to you with that same, then you know where you're talking about. Hey, I've been there. This is what I did to get through it. This is what worked for me. But I'm here to tell you that there's light at the end of the tunnel. You see? And this is what growth really is. We talk about gift and we talk about growth, right? And there are very, very many gifted people out there. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of people whose gift is lined up with their growth. 9 times you're going to have a person that's really, really gifted, but their growth is going to be way down here. They may be gifted, but then when it comes to dealing with situations in a adult manner or, coming out, they fall apart because there's no growth there. All right? Being grown, being mature, all right, is not running from a problem. It is facing it head on. You recognize it for what it is and you say, this is a spot where I need help. And what do? You seek that help. You don't run from it, right? You don't run from the problem. You greet it head on. Because that is how you get it under control. We talked about getting the flesh under control, right? Well, most of the time, our flesh is what's causing the problem. So we greet that head on and we say, this is the issue. It's not this, it's not that, it's not my wife, it's not my kid, it's not my this, it's not my dog, it's not this. It's me. I'm the problem. So I got to work on me. Like Dad talked about that little man that say he ain't had no time to look at anybody else, right? Because he was too busy picking the lint and the fuzz off of himself. All right? You can point your finger so many times, right? But eventually the only person left to point at is going to be you. I've learned that the hard way. All right? 99% of my problems have been caused by me, not by anybody else, but my perception. All right? But being grown, that is what being grown is. Being able to see what the problem is, right? And go to that, even if it's ourselves. So that is part of becoming mature. Or as the scriptures say, becoming perfect. The word perfect does not mean that you don't have any flaws. It means that you're grown. It means that you've come to a complete growth, that you're mature. That's what being perfect is. It's not that I don't ever make any mistakes. But when I do make a mistake, what do? The word says that a righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up, dusts himself off, repents of what he's done, and seeks to do better than what he did before. Got to keep walking. We can't just sit down and quit. Okay? Let me ask you this. Yes, ma'am.
I know, like when we first moved here, there was a lot that Yahuwah was dealing with me. And I couldn't make sense of a lot of things. And at the time, I thought I wasn't supposed to say anything to anybody because I didn't want everybody hearing about what went on before. But when I started opening up and actually having conversations with the people that Yahuwah put in my life, it helped me put things in perspective to where I could figure out how to grow from where I was at.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. We have to be grown enough to realize there is a problem here and I cannot fix it on my own. So I reach out to other people that I can trust. I'm not going to reach out to somebody, some dude I met on the street corner. I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that person. I don't know. Their life may be worse than mine is. So why would I go to that person and ask them for help? That's like going to somebody who is an atheist and asking them to pray for you. And that doesn't make much sense, does it? So Yahweh puts people in our lives, right? He puts people there that we can trust. And you have to watch people as well. You do. You've got to see what what do they got going on? Are they doing what they say they're supposed to do? Are they living? This is what I'm talking about. Your life says way more than what your words do. Yeah, it's the example that you set. It's the things that you do. It's the way you walk it out. All right? Now, when it comes down to it, let's talk about these spies again. They're a perfect example. Okay? Because they saw something that they saw as hopeless, and that's what they choose to believe, rather than believing in the one that had proven himself over and over and over again. All right? So let me ask you a question. I do like Yahushua. I will ask you a question. When they went in to spy out the land, right? There were 12 of them. They were told that when they came back to give their report, Yahweh was ready to go before them and clean that whole area out and give it to them right then. So my question to you is, those spies, did they need anything else? What were they missing to go into the land? They were missing faith and trust and reliance on one who had proven himself over and over and over again and continues to do so. How many burning bushes do we need? How many do we need to see? You see what I'm saying? How many burning bushes do you need? He has proven himself time and time and time again. They didn't need anything else because they had the greatest one in all of time and eternity. But what happened? They allowed their flesh, their concern, their worry, their fear, they allowed that to lie to them until they chose to believe a story that wasn't true. And we see what it got them. Yes, sir.
Here's the one thing that most people don't realize. Excuse me. Most things in our lives come to us to expose our weaknesses. That's all he's trying to do.
That's it. That's it.
He knew full well there was going to come back 10 spies full of fear. Mm-hmm. But they didn't think so when they took out. But when they got back, they got exposed.
Right.
And when they got exposed, this is what they should have did. They should have said, well, he brought us to the Red Sea. Surely he can do all these.
That's my point.
He brought here. See, but they got exposed. And that's what the Father's trying to show us. Most things happening in our lives is expose our weaknesses. And we can do two things. We can dig it back in the hole, or we can overcome.
Right. We can either run to the problem or we can run from the problem. I would much rather take the problem head on and be uncomfortable for a moment, right? But then reap the rewards afterward. Does that make sense? If I face it right now, and I can do like old Barney, and I can nip it in the bud, okay? I can take care of it when it's this big instead of when it's 20 feet tall and 18 feet around. Do you see what I'm saying? We fix the problem when it's small. And we don't let it grow into a full-fledged monster. All right? And I'm going to tell y'all a little bit of information. I'm going to give y'all a little something that maybe you have not heard. Or maybe you don't see it. Not faulting anybody, not judging anybody. You just may not have been conditioned to see this. Okay? Make sure that you're listening to me. All right? I want everybody under the sound of my voice to know, whether you are a man or a woman, all right, you are stronger than you give yourself credit for. There is nothing that we cannot do if Yahweh goes before us. Right? What does the word say? If Yahweh before us, who can be against us? There is nothing that can come against you and defeat you if Yahweh goes before you. Not principalities, not powers, not height, not depth. Nothing can stand against him. So we need to take our belief, we need to take our faith, we need to take it out of the temporal realm, out of the things, out of the fleshly areas, out of the things that I can see, and out of the things that I have control over, and put them in the things that I cannot see. I have no control over whether I wake up tomorrow. But if I tell Brother Michael, Yahweh willing, I'm going to come see you tomorrow. I've taken it out of my hands. And I've said, if Yahweh wills it, this is what I'll do. That is putting your faith in action. I'm saying, I'm trusting him to wake me up tomorrow. Every night I go to bed thinking, Yahweh, if it's your will, fix this situation and let me wake up with my eyes right tomorrow. They haven't gotten there yet, but they're getting there. But that's every day. They get better every day. I've been almost a month with this double vision. But I could go all over, oh man, I got a brain tumor, I got a this, I got a that, I'm a whatever, I'm going to have an aneurysm, I'm going to got a stroke, you see what I could formulate? You see what my mind, what my vain imaginations, you see what they can cook up? When I went to the optometrist, or the ophthalmologist, I always get those two messed up. I went to the ophthalmologist because I was concerned, and I said, I did tell my doctor about it because I had an appointment, and I said, I need to get a second opinion on this. She said, I'm going to send you to the ophthalmologist. They did a full thing, dilated my eyes, looked in there, did all kind of stuff, all kinds of things. And he told me, he said, I think what it is, because I had all this sinus swelling. He said, I think that it cut off circulation to parts of the muscles and the nerves in your left eye. He said, this happened, and this is another thing that he told me. I'd never put this together. But he told me, he said, you're a diabetic, aren't you? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, I see this a lot in my diabetic patients. He said, what happens is the sinus cavity swells. That inflammation cuts off blood circulation to some of the muscles. He said, and it will get itself right. He said, but it's going to take probably between 4 and 6 weeks to get there. But for most diabetic folks, our circulation is not that great. That's why neuropathy and all these things are such an issue. That's why they're always poking your feet and tickling them and all that kind of stuff. But he told me, he said, looking at the way that you were able to move your eyes and this and that, he said, I looked in your eyes. He said, your blood vessels look great. Your optic nerve looks fine. He said, now, unfortunately, I can't see the muscles that are connecting your eye. He said, but the muscles and Or he said, but the blood vessels and the optic nerve look great. He said, your retina looks fine. It's not detaching or anything. He said, that looks fine. He said, I know you have a history, a family history of macular degeneration. He says, it looks fine. He says, you do have a little bit of a cataract. He said, but you know about that. He said, that's not something that we need to worry about right now. We'll catch that further on down the line. But he says, and I certainly don't think that you've had a stroke or anything like that because of you being able to move your eyes the way I asked you to. So you see, I had to put myself in I don't like people messing with my eyes. I get real weird about that. I would think most people do. I hate using eye drops and any of that kind of stuff. I don't like nothing around my eyes. But I had to kind of step up and say, I may find out something I don't want to find out, but it's worth me knowing. So I did what? I had to man up, tell my doctor, and go. And that's what I'm saying. If you face the situation head on, knowing in whom you've trusted, you'll be surprised how much courage can pop up where you didn't think there was anything. That's a big deal. Being strengthened and being courageous in a situation where you don't know what's happening, that is a big thing. Okay? And sometimes you need to muster up the courage to take a look at yourself and see things that may not be so pretty. Places where we all have weaknesses and shortcomings. But here's the thing. With Yahweh's help, we will make it. We will come through on the other side. And we'll be better than what we were when we went into it. Does that make sense to everybody? What I'm trying to tell you? All right? Do not lean unto your own understanding. All right? You can handle anything that gets thrown your way as long as Yahweh's there directing traffic. We try to do it, and we're going to have stuff all backwards and forwards and inside out and everything, backwards, outwards, and all that. But when he's the one controlling the flow of everything, it's going to be done correctly, and it's going to be done right. And it certainly will be done in the time that it needs to be done. That's the biggest thing. Okay? And in verse 9, it talks here, it says that Moses wrote the law and he delivered it to the priests, the sons of Levi. And what did they do with it? They put it where? In the ark. Right? They put that word in the ark. And when we look at this is a really big lesson. This is a very poignant thing. This one verse, this is very poignant. It says a whole lot with just a few little words. It says that he took the word, he gave it to Levi, or to the sons of Levi, the priests, and they put it in the ark. Okay? So look at it this way. The content of the ark is just like the content of our heart. The ark was borne on the shoulders of the priests, right? Your heart is carried around in you. The content of the ark, okay? The content and the one that sat on top of it is what made it special. But when the spirit was lifted off of it, it became an artifact. And all it was just a piece of furniture. So this is what I tell us about needing to have the Ruach in our tabernacle. What is in your ark? What's in it? Is it the word? Is it Aaron's rod that budded? Is it the manna? Is it the blood? Is it what's in your ark? What is it? If there's nothing in it, it has no power. When Yahweh removed his spirit from the ark, what happened? It just became a box. And come down to it, at the time of the crucifixion, when the veil torn, and they looked back there, what did they see? There was nothing. There wasn't even the box. That's how far away we've gotten. Do you see? The contents of the ark are synonymous with the contents of our heart. Because whatever is in the heart is what's going to come out. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Whatever's in here is what's going to come out of my mouth. Just like when the Ruach of Yahweh was on the ark, right, and they carried it with them, nothing could stand in front of them, correct? But when the Spirit was removed, there was nothing there. No power, no nothing. So this is what I'm saying. We've got to hide that word in our heart. All right? Chris, read verses 10 through 13, please.
All right. Deuteronomy 31, 10 through 13. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of the release, in the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel is come to appear before Yahweh the Elohim in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Gather the people together, men and women and children, and thy stranger that is within thy gates, that they may hear and that they may learn, and fear Yahweh your Elohim, and observe to do all the words of this law. And that their children, which have not known anything, may hear and learn to fear Yahweh your Elohim, as long as you live in the land, whether you go over Jordan to possess it.
So, he said here that in the 7th year, right, in the year of release, during Feast of Tabernacles, that they were to do what? Read this word. All right? But there are other places in the scriptures where it tells us that we are to keep that word on us, in our hearts, in our minds, 24/7. The kings were supposed to keep a copy of it, which they had written themselves. Did they do that? No. And we see what happened. Okay? The word tells us that we are to keep the words of this law. That we're supposed to wear it as frontlets between our eyes. That means have it on your mind all the time. We're to put it on the gates and the doorposts of our house. That don't mean hanging up a magic amulet. What that means is in the place where you live, that's where you have it. All right? Not only your earthly dwelling, your physical house, but in this house too. Because this body is the house for the Ruach HaKodesh. We're to keep it as frontlets between our eyes, and we're to bind it to our hands. Not physically. But have the word temper every action you perform. That is what it's talking about. Okay? We are to continuously review the word in our lives. Okay? Continuously. That means whether it's good times or whether it's bad times. Okay? During joyful times and during sorrowful times. All right? Feast days, regular days, on the days that you don't even feel like getting out of bed. Been there, done that, got a stack of t-shirts. On the days that you feel like, I can't go on, I can't make one more step. That's when you need to cling to him the hardest. Okay? And here's another thing. You may say, I've done too much. I've done too much. I've said too much. I've been too many places. I've done too many things. The word is for everybody in every place that they are. All right? Means it doesn't matter whether you're sitting on a mountaintop or whether you're down in a pig pen. The word is for you. And it is the only thing that can set your feet back on solid ground. All right? I want to bring to your attention, let's go to Romans 8 and 35.
All right. 8. Okay, so Romans 8 and 35 says, "Who shall separate us from the love of the Messiah? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword?"
All right? Pay attention to the very first word of that scripture.
Who?
It's the word who. Not what, but who. Who can separate us from the love of Messiah? Not what. That's what he said. Not nakedness, not peril, not famine, not sword. None of those things can separate us from the love of Messiah. But the imperative is who? I can. Right? He said, no man can remove you from my Father's hand, but I can sure jump out of it if I want to. That makes sense, Sister Shelby? I can jump out of it if I want to. He gave me free will, and I can stay there or I can go. He gives me that choice. He says, you can stick with me or you can go back out into the world. It's your decision. All right? But like I said, I wanted to make sure that we paid attention to that. It says, who can separate us? You can. You can separate yourself. And that's not where you want to be. I am convinced that without Moshiach in this world, I am nothing. I have no role model. I have no example to pattern myself after. I'm lost. All right? So that's what I'm telling you. This word is for everybody. All right? You don't have to have a certain amount of money in the bank. You don't have to have a certain color skin or a certain blood type. That doesn't matter. But the word is for everybody. It's like the love of Moshiach is for everybody. Okay? So let's go to verse 14 and let's see what it says there.
Deuteronomy 31 and 14 says, "And Yahweh said unto Moses, Behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation."
Okay, so we see where at the unction of Yahweh, Moses does what? He prepares another to lead in his place. Okay? He prepares another to lead in his place. All right? And that is what happens. Yahweh prepares others to lead in the absence of those who are currently there. Because guess what? None of us are going to live forever on this earth. In this body, in this vessel. Okay? So there are those who we're going to need to do something. We get to an age where we just don't have the physical ability anymore. And so Yahweh brings up another one that can fill that spot. And they won't fill it exactly the same. Everybody brings their own things to the table. Okay? But the idea, the concept is that he prepares another to lead in the absence of the former. In this case, he was training Joshua this whole time to take over for Moses when it was time for him to step off the scene. This is why it is important that we prepare our children to take up the mantle after they leave us. Okay? So the word says, if you train up a child in the way it should go, right? When they get older, they'll not depart from it. Right? We train our children so that they can carry the torch after us. All right? Let's go to, and we see this, the example of passing, just you use the phrase, passing the torch. We see this example. Okay? Let's go to 1 Kings 19 and read verses 19 through 20.
First Kings 19:20. So he departed thence and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Eliab passed by him and cast his mantle upon him. And he left the oxen and ran after Eliab and said, Let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, Go back again, for what have I done to thee?
All right. So you see, we have Eliyahu, right? Elijah, the prophet. He's walking by and he sees a guy, 12 yoke of oxen. That's a bunch of oxen. Right? He's out here plowing a field with 24 oxen. And he sees him. Did he say a word to him? No. He took his mantle off, his covering, and he put it on Elisha. And Elisha immediately ran to him and said, Let me go kiss my mother and my father, and I'll come follow you. He didn't say a word to him, did he? He just placed that on him. We teach our children, we raise them in the way that they should go, right? And we do that so that when we're not around anymore, then they know what to do. And they can carry on. And hopefully we leave them with good lessons. And hopefully we leave them with good understanding and with a good example. All right? Because I will tell you this right now. Some of us, just like what Elisha did, he left one life to go after another, didn't he? And y'all remember when Eliyahu was getting ready to go off the scene? What happened? The only thing Elisha asked for was what? A double portion of what Eliyahu had. And that's what we should hope for in our kids too. And in those we come in contact with. Okay? My biggest desire is for all of you to understand the word and be able to grasp the concepts and the lessons, the tools that we have. I want you to be able to grab those and use them more effectively than I can. Or than I do, let me put it that way. I want you to understand the word better than I do. I want it to be more real for each and every one of you and more active. Now, I'll tell you what, the word is very active in my life. I'm not saying that to put myself on a pedestal. It's just that one day I decided that, you know what, if I'm going to spend my eternity, or if I'm planning on spending my eternity with him, I better learn about him. I better learn what's right and what's wrong. I better learn what's acceptable and what is not acceptable. I better learn how to get my eyes off of me and get them on him. And I had a big change that day. All right? And the word became living to me. Instead of just being words on a page, it became a living entity. And it got down in me and it grabbed a hold of me, and I don't ever want it to let go. Am I perfect? No, I'm not. I don't even pretend to be perfect. But I've seen some things other people may not have. And I've been some places other people may not have. So I can use those experiences, those ashes, if you will. I can use those past experiences to help somebody else, which is what I'm here for. Brother Michael, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you, Brother Alex, Sister Shelby, Sister Cole. I'm here for y'all. You see? I firmly believe that I was put here to help other people. And that's a good place to be. I'm happy with that. I like being a helper. Gives me a sense of accomplishment. Okay? But one day, I'm going to leave this life. And somebody's going to have to pick it up after me. Who that is, I don't know. But Yahweh will present it for himself. And when he does, I need to be accepting of that and be willing to say, okay, time for me to step down and somebody else to step up. Pretty simple, huh, Dad? That's how it is. All right? But in verses 16 through 18, we see that Yahweh already knows. We've talked about that several times, haven't we? He's omniscient. He's omnipresent. He exists in the past, the present, and the future. He knows who we are. He knows us on a level that we don't even know ourselves. But he tells them, he says, you're fixing to go sleep with your fathers. And he says, and after you do, these people are going to rise up and they're going to go chasing after the deities of the strangers of the land. All right? And they're going to break my covenant. And when that happens, I'm going to get angry with them. Right? And he says here, I will forsake them. Now, what is he talking about? Because he already told us, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. So what is he saying? He's saying, I'm going to be upset with them. I'm going to kind of distance myself from them a little bit. But I'm not going to leave them. I'll always be there. Right? So when we're dealing with a situation, remember, we may feel like we're in the bottom of a well right now. We may feel like we're in a pit. We may feel like we're in the dark. We may feel like we're in the deepest, darkest hole that there's ever been. But just like it says in the Psalms, there's nowhere that I can run to that he doesn't see me. Doesn't matter how deep that hole is, Brother Alex, because he knows where I'm at. And guess what? He can lift me out of that hole. Doesn't matter what I got myself tied up into. He knows where I am, right? And he can help me untangle that mess. But he told them, he said, look, I know exactly what's going to happen. And one thing that I really, I mean, there's so many things, but one thing that I really respect about Yahweh is that he always kept it straight with them. I always told him, when you do this, I'm going to do that. Whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. Right? When you, like what you say, when you say, I'm going to show up and I'm going to show out. When you show out, I'm going to show out. Okay? When you have a child or you have, whatever, whenever that situation shows out, and you show your true colors, guess what? The Father's going to do the same thing. But it's going to be a whole lot worse. So if you're acting like a child and throwing a temper tantrum, right, and murmuring and complaining, we already know what murmuring and complaining does, don't we? It kind of lights his fire, doesn't it, Brother Mike? You don't like that. So just like he rejoiced over the blessing, he's going to rejoice over you to curse you as well. He can do that. All right? But he did, this is what's so cool. He gave them fair warning several times. But he tells them in these verses, when you do these things, this is what I'm going to do. Okay? So, if they were obedient, would he have had to do any of those things? Would he have had to pronounce the curses? Would he have, if they were obedient, would he have had to do any of that? No. So then it must be, just like I've been saying, it must be what brings the curse, the consequence of our actions. That is what brings the curse. Okay? That's what brings the problem. It's the consequences not only of our actions, but our inactions as well. Let's not forget about that. The word says, for him that knows to do right and does it not, it is a sin. I had a preacher one time ask me, he said, let me ask you a question. I said, yeah. He said, are you saying, he said, do you believe that if I eat a pork chop that I'm going to go to hell? I was standing in this man's office, in his church. And I told him, I said, brother, I said, I can't put you in heaven or hell. I said, but the word says, to him that knoweth to do right and does it not, it's a sin. If you know that it's something that you shouldn't be doing and you do it anyway, that is a sin. And that is open and willful sin. I said, I can't put you in hell and I can't put you in heaven, but I can tell you what the word says. And I turned around and walked out of his office. And that was where I left it at. I'm going to let the word do its own talking. All right? So, the point is, when we are faced with a question, we must take action. And when we are in a situation, we must act. Because there are consequences for not acting as well. Okay? So, Chris, read verses 19 through 21, please.
All right, Deuteronomy 31, 19 through 21. Now therefore write ye this song for you, and teach it the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves and waxen fat, then they will turn unto other Elohim and serve them, and provoke me, and break my covenant. And it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles are befallen them, that this song shall testify against them as a witness. For it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed, for I know their imagination which they go about, even now, before I have brought them into the land which I swear.
Okay, so what is verses 19 through 21 telling us? He says, write this song, write this poem, write this piece of art, right? Write this so that when you mess up, you're going to hear it in your ears, and it's going to come back to remind you of what you did. This is yet another example of how this disobedience, their unwillingness to do what was right in the eyes of Yahweh for their own comfort, their own ease, their own whatever, This is yet another example of how their disobedience was going to bring things upon them. All right? And here's the thing. Who would they be able to blame it on? Only themselves. That's why he said, so when you do this, and this song comes back to you, and you hear it, you'll know exactly who's to blame for it. Because you chose to not do the right thing. Right? That's what it says in the book of Numbers. It says, be sure that your sin will find you out. Okay? So what is it telling us? The places where we have come up short, the places where we missed the mark, one day we're going to have to relive those things. Unless they're under the blood, right? Unless those things are under the blood, they will be brought to remembrance again. There will be times when the one that we stand before says, hey, you remember when I sent you to go talk to somebody and you thought that you didn't want to, maybe you didn't feel comfortable talking, but I wanted you to speak. You could have been the thing that brought them here. But you didn't. Because of what? Fear? Because of not wanting to be bothered? You see? Do you remember when I sent you to this one? Or this one came and did those things, the places where we have missed it, they are going to come back and ring in our ears. And honestly, it would be so much better if we would just get all of that stuff under the blood, right? So that we don't have to answer for it in that day. But I'm going to tell you what, much better to do it sooner rather than later. Okay? But when it all comes down to it, this we told him. He said, you're not going to have anybody to blame but yourself. Because I told you what was right to do. You had all this time in the desert, and you did what you wanted. You still broke my covenant. All right. Chris, read verse 23, please.
31 and 23 says, and he gave Joshua the son of Nun a charge, and said, be strong and of a good courage, for thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I swear unto them, and I will be with thee.
So it says that he gave him a charge. He gave him an order. And what was the order that Joshua received? To be strong, to be courageous. That was the order. Right? It wasn't Moses just patting him on the back saying, you're going to be all right. It's going, It was a command. Be strong, be courageous. You know you were one of only 4 people out of that generation. You were one of the only ones that had the right mindset. So hold on to that. Don't let what you see out here, don't let what's on the outside touch what's on the inside. Right? Okay. So he is encouraging Joshua. And he tells him what his past was going to be. All right? Or what his part, was going to be. And he tells him, you're going to lead them into the land. You'll get them there. But what they do when they get there, okay? Yahweh does not gloss over the consequences for wrong actions. How many times did he tell him, if you do the right thing, here's what I'm going to bless you with. But if you go chasing after the deities of the people, or you go doing this, or you go and do that, here's what's going to happen. You see, he never let them go into it blind. He always told them, if you obey, great. If you don't, got to go. I'll put you in a land that you don't know, a people that you don't know, and you'll serve them. You came out of one situation, you'll go right back into another. And you'll be their slaves. You'll be their servants instead of it being the other way around. But isn't it strange? I say strange. It's about right that doing things against what Yahweh says to do, doing things the way that we think are the best way, ends up with everything turned upside down. He said, if you obey, you'll be the lender and not the borrower. You'll be the head, not the tail. But where have they been? Because they chose to do what they wanted rather than be obedient. Okay? And verses 24 through 27, let me see here. Where's 24? So it says, and it came to pass when Moses made an end to writing all the words of this law in a book until they were finished, then he commanded the Levites which bore the ark of the covenant, saying, take this, the book of the law, and put it in the side of the ark, right? The ark of the covenant of Yahweh your Elohim, that it may be there for a witness against you. 60, 75 years later, that it may be a witness against you. Because you remember, they came to the king several years after this and said, we have found the book of the law. Yet they still had the furniture, and they were still performing the service, and they were still doing. But 60 plus years later, they came and said, we found the book of the law. How did you not know where it was? How did you fulfill the commandment to read it in the midst of all the people every 7 years during Sukkot? How did you do that? Well, they weren't even doing Sukkot. Do you see what I'm saying? This is why we have got to police ourselves. Sister Shelby, you can't rely on Rabbi or me to get you in. That's on you, isn't it? Brother Alex, the same thing, right? I love you with all my heart, brother, but I can't get you in the gate. That's something you've got to do. I love my wife more than anything in this world. But she's going to have to stand on her own 2 feet when she stands in front of him. Do you see what I'm saying? And none of us can plead ignorance, that's for sure. As much word as we cover in this, none of us can plead ignorance. We just can't. I can't say, well, Rebbe didn't teach me such and such and such. He gave you the tools. It's up to you. You see? So that's what I'm saying. He completes the work. He stores it in the ark. All right? And this work is going to be a witness against them. That's why he told them to put it in there. He said, put it inside the ark. Put it in the side of the ark so that it is a witness against you. And finding it some 60 plus 70 years later, that's a witness against them. And not celebrating Sukkot, a commanded feast, not celebrating that for all of these years. Okay? That's a witness against you. All right? And here's the point that I want us to get out of this. He told them to put it in the side of the ark, right? So that it would be a witness against them. Well, guess what? Whatever is either in or not in you and me is going to be a witness against ourselves. If his word is not in me, that will witness against me. If there are secret things that are in my ark, those are going to be exposed in that day. And those things will witness against me. So we need to be, and my wife will tell you, one of my duties in the position I'm in is to handle customer complaints. I believe in transparency. Here's the issue. This is what happened. But several people want to read through my responses before I send them. Why? If I'm told to be transparent, why do I need other people to check my work? Then I get, change this. Then you write it. But I'm not going to lie about it. See what I'm saying? Because if something should happen, whose neck is on the block for that? Mine. Ma'am? That's my point. So I'm saying, if I'm the one who is tasked to write it, and somebody else comes behind and changes it, do you see what I'm saying? It's still me. Okay? That is what is going to ultimately speak either for or against us. What we have stored in our ark. All right? Chris, read 28 and 29, please.
31, 28, 29 says, Gather unto me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears, and call heaven and earth to record against them. For I know that after my death you will utterly corrupt yourselves, and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you, and evil will befall you in the latter days, because you will do evil in the sight of Yahweh, to provoke him to anger through the works of your hands.
All right. So he says to gather all the leaders together. Right? To do what? To hear what's going to happen. And he even goes as far as to call heaven and earth to witness. So we've got 3 witnesses here, don't we? Heaven, earth, and those leaders, the people. All right? So he speaks to the leaders to make sure that they understand. And here's a hard thing. Here's the thing that we need to learn. Leaders, parents, friends, family, what the people see, that is what they will do. Okay? And they will do it all the more without strong leadership. This is why I told y'all a long time ago, this is the example. When I said that when Chris was growing up, that Kim and I were a united front when it came to handling situations. He's a child, right? But if you have parents that are at odds, if you have leadership in the shul that are at odds with each other, we can't agree. If we can't agree on the scriptures, what can we agree on? It's right there. But if, it's like I said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. All right? And if they think they can, it's just like if you have a group of, Brother Michael, you have a group of people that work under you. You have a crew. Well, if you got a guy that likes to take shortcuts, right? And other people see him taking those shortcuts, and you don't stand up and say, no, we don't do it like that. We do it this way. There's a right way and a wrong way. We're going to do it the right way. And you have to be strong. I'm using this as an example, okay? But you have to be strong and say, this is how we're going to do it. And get everyone, them people on the same page. That way you have consistency. Your work is always going to be what it should be. And guess what else you're doing? You're also building respect within the group and keeping people safe. Because if they're taking a shortcut, that foam machine that you guys got, that thing's, I mean, it's hot and it's got fumes coming out. And if somebody tries to take a shortcut, that could be dangerous, couldn't it? What do you think would happen if they overpressurize that machine? If it explodes, somebody could lose a life. Somebody could lose a limb, a finger, an arm. They could lose their life. So there is merit in doing things the correct way and making sure they're done that way. Okay? And this is why, we've heard it several times, this is why the people that go to this assembly may seem tough. And we may seem hard. But I promise you, you will never ever find a group of people that love as heavy as we do. And it's because we want the best for you. So, in order to keep you on the straight and narrow, maybe we ride you a little hard. But we do that for your own good. All right? We want to make sure that the scriptures are followed, even in our absence. I can't be with you 24 hours a day. I'm not even with my wife 24 hours a day. Rebbe can't be with you 24 hours a day. We can't be sitting there constantly looking over your shoulder to make sure that what you do goes along with the scriptures. You're grown, at least chronologically. You know what I mean? We can't change. We've changed all the Pampers. We're going to change. And pull-ups. Okay? Here's the thing that we need to remember, y'all. It is truly a matter of life and death. Truly. Because this reaches actually into eternity. It's not just earthly. It reaches into eternity. Okay? But ultimately, we have to remember that it is each and every one of us that decides which side of love you receive. Do you receive the soft side? Do you receive the hard side? Which one do you want? Because Yahweh got them both, right? He got a big licking stick, and he got a big hat pin. And no matter how much you think you know, he can pop that bubble. And no matter where you are, he can reach out and switch that leg. Right? I hold on to what it says in 1 Corinthians 2:9. Okay? Eye had not seen, ear has not heard, neither has it entered into the heart of man what Yahweh has prepared for them who love him. And I show him that I love him by being obedient. Okay? That's what John 14:15 says. If you love me, keep my commandments. That's how I show him that I love him. And if I am obedient and I am a profitable servant, there's a reward waiting for me that I can't even begin to try and I can try to imagine it. But I know that no matter the most beautiful, incredible, unbelievable thing I could ever come up with in my mind, that it ain't even going to be, it's going to be 1,000 times better than what I could ever come up with. 1,000,000 times better. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the same mind as him. But what I want us to understand, and I'm ending with this right here. This is my finish. I want us to understand that ultimately the status of our lives and the status of where we end up all rests with us and the decisions that we make. Rebbe and I can give you a foundation, but we can't make you follow through with it. We can walk it out in front of you to the best of our ability, but we can't make you follow it either. See what I'm saying? So what I'm asking us to do as a family, as friends and loved ones and brothers and sisters and all, be in prayer for each other. We need that. If you need help, reach out. If you're in a situation that you don't understand, reach out. If there's something that is bothering you, something that is in your heart that's hurting you, reach out. That's what we're here for. Learn to trust us. Okay? Because you never know. It may be, I may have to reach out and call you. And I promise you one thing. If I got a problem or if I have a question, I'm going to make a phone call. Let me tell off on my mama a little bit. You know, she likes to think that she can do everything in the world all by herself. You know, she likes to think that. She don't want nobody to touch it because ain't nobody going to do it the same way she does it. And do, thank you. But as I'm leaving work, I get a text message from my wife that says, hey, we need to leave the house a little early so that we can get to the shul and help mom get things set up. Okay. Get home, feed the cats, change my clothes, get the gumbo in the car, get up here. She ain't even here. So we got in here, brought everything, and we got everything set up, got the bread and the juice out, got the coffee made, got everything heating up, did all of that. When she come in, all she had to do was sit down and let her daughter-in-law get her a cup of coffee. That's all she had to do. Okay? And she says, before anybody else got here, it was just us. I told you I was finna tell off on you. She says, I was so embarrassed because I had to call y'all, but I couldn't do it. I'd been doing this. And she told us about this ongoing saga with potato salad and trying to get it down the thing and get it in a room and put it in the thing. And when I got it there, then I couldn't do it. And then I had nowhere to sit. I had to go get Mati Jau again. But do you see how much easier it would have been from the get-go? That's what I'm talking about. Do not suffer. Not when there are able-bodied folks who are more than willing to help. She sends me a text message last night, about 10 o'clock. I'm so thankful. I feel so bad you guys had, I'm so blah, 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 blah. I said, it is our privilege and our honor to be, did I not text you that? To be able to help. Allow us to do that. Put your fear take your fear and put that way in the back. It does not make you look weak. if you have to reach out and ask for help. That's why there is such a thing as a ministry of helps. There's a lot of ministries out there, right? But there is a ministry of helps. And if it's needed, it's needed. That's right. Do not feel embarrassed to reach out. That's what we're here for. Amen? All right. Done. I'm going to quit picking on you. Love y'all. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. I hope that this word was helpful to you today. I hope that there was, so I told you there was going to be a lot in it, but I really, really hope that it was helpful. I hope that it was a blessing. I bless the Abba for allowing me to share my take on the word and the things that the Ruach gave me to share with you today. I thank him for that. I thank him for each and every one of you, whether you're here in the house or whether you're out there in the virtual shul. This place doesn't run without you. We love and appreciate each and every one of you.